I tried beating Terraria as the Esper class. What is that, you may ask? Well, it is basically just the most amazing version of telekinesis. I started off my very sad, very lonely hero's journey by making myself a character and starting to chop down trees. What I realized is that I could actually make myself a wooden disc right off the bat, which was made out of just a couple of wood, and that granted me my very first telekinetic weapon. And I also realized that there is a telekinesis bar at the bottom of my character that, if ran out, well, I wasn't sure what would happen, but I wasn't ready to test it yet. Anyways, I got onto doing all the basic stuff, like drinking my coffee and then checking all the various different crafting recipes and all the different telekinetic weapons that there were within the game. I built myself a couple of NPC houses, and then upon making a large cactus pickaxe, I dug myself a mini elevator, or what I consider to be a mini elevator. During this time, we got ourselves a bunch of life crystals, and I also managed to craft myself within this time a cactus ball, which essentially was a better telekinetic weapon. It was like super easy to craft, so why not get it, of course, right? Got myself a golden pickaxe, then I got myself a bunch more life crystals. We literally, within the first 20 minutes of the game, had half of the HP progression done, and I also managed to get myself a bunch of demonite since I had a gold pickaxe, which then helped me craft the ebon cactus ball and the demon thorns before we had even defeated the Eye of Cthulhu, which set us off to a very great start and made us very, very powerful. I continued digging until basically almost reaching the underworld, but I couldn't really because I got blocked by some obsidian, and then I managed to reach it after a while. But along with this, I also crafted myself a brand new weapon once I came back to spawn, which was the diamond rift. Essentially, this just summoned this floatable object above us that would shoot various different projectiles at enemies. It was pretty good, but honestly the saw blades were far better, so I just stuck to those. I then went over to the queen beehive, and being the big baller boss that I am, I accidentally summoned in one queen bee using the diamond rift because it shot out a projectile at the queen bee instead of the hornet. Like, why would you do that? I don't get it. Anyways, it shot that out, and then not only did we summon in one queen bee, boyos, look at what happens in the clip. We summon in two, and you know, being the best Terraria player of all time, of course, I died. After coming home, I decided to keep on making my elevator even bigger and mine for more ores. I went to go mine within the jungle because I needed accessories from the jungle. There were more life crystals. By this time, we actually got to full HP, and I also got myself the summon for the Eye of Cthulhu. So once it turned to nighttime, I summoned that in, and then using the cactus ball and the demonite ball that we crafted, we absolutely shredded through the Eye of Cthulhu. Like, it was stupidly easy. We were dealing loads and loads of damage, and then I decided to go fight the destroyer because I thought, hey, like, our weapons are really good. And this is where I discovered what happens when you actually use up too much of your telekinesis. When you use up all of your telekinetic abilities and it goes down to 0, if the counter reaches 0, you will get the ultimate debuff that starts taking away your health and just starts like eating at you, right? So you have to be very careful. You need to play this very strategically. This mod is not a mod of just death and terror like some other ones that I've played. Anyways, we took out the Eater of Worlds, and then by this time I actually was able to craft myself absolutely nothing new because we were so overpowered for the time being. And the only next armor set we can craft was actually post Skeletron. There wasn't really any good armor sets for the telekinetic class pre-Skeletron, so I just decided not to do it and just go with like platinum armor, right? This is where I ventured over to Skeletron's dungeon and made myself a mini arena, proceeded to fight Skeletron once it turned to nighttime. Using the glass burr, which was the cactus weapon, and along with that, the demonite telekinetic weapon, we just demolished Skeletron Prime. It was super easy. Like, I need to play on expert mode, I know, stop hating on me. But we took that boyo out, and then I went into the dungeon, you know, falling through all the various different death pits, death traps of the dungeon because it's like that. And I really hate those crumpling bricks, bro. Was crumpling even a fucking word? Is crumpling even a word? You guys know what I mean. I don't like those bricks that fall. They're very annoying. We found the mechanic, and then also within the dungeon, we managed to find ourselves basically the Muramasa version of the telekinetic weapons, which was called the gooey canister. And along with that, we found the saw version of that, which was the bone saw. The gooey canister is a part of weapons called canisters, which essentially let you hold up a canister in the sky and they shoot out various different projectiles. Within this mod, there were saw blades, there were canisters, there were rifts, bouncers, twirlers, boulders, jars, shooters, gusts, orbiters, bombers, lobbers, others, and other weapons that aren't categorized too well. Anyways, after this, I made myself a bunch of NPC homes and then just placed down literally all of them because, you know, I like NPCs. And then we got invaded by a goblin army, which I was not very fond of. But, you know, we destroyed them. It was super easy. I ended up camping on a ledge for like half the time. And I actually got a pretty cool drop from the goblins called the spiky ball lobber. And this is one of the lobber weapons that we were talking about essentially summons in this little mini summon that just like lobs spikes at goblins. It wasn't really that good, but it was very cool to use. And you will actually be surprised by all the weapons within this mod. They're very unique, and I definitely recommend you play this for yourself and check them out. By this point, I started going through the boss checklist and seeing what there was to defeat and what there was to conquer. I spent my time mining up a meteor, then going to fight a bunch of demon eyes so we can craft the full Taurus armor. And once that was crafted, I also made myself a bunch of veils, which are basically necklaces for those that don't know English, and they gave our telekinetic abilities various different debuffs. So when we would hit an enemy with our saw blade, for example, it would make the enemy poison. Of course, this at the very end of the game will be combined to make one super uber duper cool accessory, so I kind of need all. Anyways, I spent the rest of the time making myself a elevator, made myself a massive platform within the Underworld, and got myself some Hellstone with my new Demonite pickaxe. I fought the Eye of Cthulhu a couple more times, and I crafted myself all of the Hellstone weapons that I can craft. So we crafted the Saw Flame, the Lava Canister, and one very special weapon called the Molten Boulder, which dealt crazy amounts of damage, but it was kind of slow to use, and it was probably one of my favorite weapons for fighting many of the bosses pre-hard mode. As when you hit an enemy, it would explode into just like a massive conglomeration of fire, and it dealt crazy amounts of damage. But after this, I went to go farm out the Fling Spurs so we can craft the summon for the Deer Clops. I made the summon for him, and then using the Molten Boulder, we absolutely destroyed the Deer Clops over and over and over again. And the reason I needed to fight the Deer Clops is because I needed to get myself this special shard that will be used to craft various different saws, and this kind of like comes through various different bosses in the progression that you wouldn't normally fight. So that was kind of a pain because we did have to fight bosses that were very irrelevant, but that's okay. That's okay. We defeated the Deer Clops a bunch more times and then managed to get ourselves the Midnight Canister, which was made out of the Grass Burr, the Bone Saw, the Saw Flame, and the Demon Thorns. Along with this, we also crafted the Midnight Canister, which is the Night's Edge version of the canisters in this mod. That was made out of the Vile Canister, the Sludge Canister, Gooey Canister, and Lava Canister. Having the two most overpowered weapons pre-Wall of Flesh, I decided to make my way down to the Underworld, get myself a Guy Voodoo doll, and fight the boss itself. I chucked it into the lava and proceeded to spam it with all the various different weapons that we had. By various, I mean the two main weapons. You guys know what I mean at this point. Anyways, the Ancient Spirits of Light and Dark have been released, and we are now in hard mode. If you want to see a full playthrough of this, I'll drop the playlist in the top right in the description so you can see each clip by itself, but let's get back into this. As soon as I got into hard mode, I crafted myself the Giant Gear, which was a Wall of Flesh drop weapon in the Saw Blades category of the Telekinesis class. And right after this, I went to go break a bunch of demon. You guys already know the trick. I went through the whole pickaxe progression. I blessed all of my worlds, blah, blah, blah. Who even talks about this stuff? You guys know this. Come on. Now, see, being the big brain boyo that I am, I somehow managed to craft 2 orichalcum pickaxes. I do not know how this happened. God help me. I was so scared. Along with that, I also was under the assumption that the King Slime, Soul of Light, and Soul of Night glitch was not patched. So I went down into the Hallowed biome because I needed Souls of Light, and I summoned in the King Slime. To my surprise, slimes did not drop any Souls of Light, so I was very disappointed, meaning that I had to go farm it out legitimate, which was a massive pain, of course. I fought a bunch more Eyes of Cthulhu because I needed money, because I did not want to get more Souls of Light. I'd rather just buy them. So yeah, I summoned in like 300 Eyes of Cthulhu's, and I bought a bunch of Souls of Light. Within the Hallowed biome, I managed to find myself one of those gelatinous crystal things, which apparently summon in the Queen Slime. I never knew this because I never fight the Queen Slime because I am a full-blown misogynist and hate women. Anyways, that's besides the point. I fought the Queen Slime and took out my rage of the female gender on this lady. Of course, I managed to die because I had no wings, and I thought the Queen Slime was definitely easier than this. While trying to increase my spawn rates on the Skylands so we could summon in some wyverns, I accidentally used that gelatinous crystal and summoned in the Queen Slime within the Skylands. That was a pretty big L and I died, so I went back to the Skylands, got myself a giant harpy feather, killed a bunch of wyverns, and crafted myself a pair of harpy wings. How epic. I buffed up, fought Queen Slime, and this time we managed to defeat her, which was pretty good. Now the reason I was also fighting her is because we need a special item from the Queen Slime as well so we can craft and upgrade our previous saw blade into a hard mode variant, upgrading our apprentice saw blade into the adept saw blade. By this time I summoned in and tried to fight the twins, and we managed to take out both of them fairly quickly, which really made my day, as usually the mechanical bosses are very tough on various different classes that aren't optimized too well, but this was very well up, so we took that out. And using the hallowed bars that we got, I actually went and crafted myself the Fairner's Teeth, because we're gonna need it to craft like the Terra blade version of the saw blades, so you know, of course I had to go craft it. I defeated the Queen Slime a couple more times so I can get myself the right material to upgrade our weapons within the future, and then then once it turned to nighttime again, I went to go and fight the destroyer. This was fairly easy and we took him out very quickly. And right after that, I went to go fight Skeletron Prime. This also wasn't a very big pain, but this is where I discovered probably the most overpowered weapon within this entire playthrough. And let me tell you what that was. Skeletron has 4 different weapons that he uses, correct? He has the Prime Cannon, the Prime Saw, the Prime Vice, and the Prime Laser. I decided to get myself some of the weapons of Skeletron Prime and turn myself into a mechanical boss. Little did I know that this was going to be the most overpowered decision in the entire playthrough. This is so unbalanced. This is so stupid. I got myself the Prime Vice, and I don't know why, but it deals 160 damage, and the use time is extremely fast. Like, I mean, stupidly fast. You can see me test it on the Queen Bee right now. I mean, she's enraged, so it was a bit of a pain, but you can see how quickly we take her out. This is not balanced. I upgraded my Midnight Canister to the True Midnight Canister and the Night Shred to the True Night Shred, and we were now ready to go and fight Plantera. I went mining for Chlorophyte, mined around, couldn't find Plantera's bulb, so then I just went to go farm more hard mode bosses, and this is where I summoned the Destroyer, and this is where I tried to use my True Midnight Canister against the Destroyer with all of its piercing capabilities. It absolutely just shredded through the boss. And then after this, I went out of my way to go and try and craft the Excalibur versions of the droppers. So I had to go craft myself the Gold Dropper and the True Gold Dropper, which was all a pain. And then I also had to go craft, you know, myself the Pharaoh's Teeth, which was the saw version of the blades. So then we can combine it all in the end and make this like super conglomeration of, you know, of Terra goodness. Anyways, I found myself the summon for Plantera's bulb. So I made myself a massive arena, and then I just summoned her in. I didn't really think she was going to be too difficult, and I was completely right. We did so much damage that it was stupid. I was testing out all my various different weapons just to see what it was like, and I didn't want to cheese it too hard, but the Prime Vice was the best weapon by far. After this, I went straight to Golem's temple and literally summoning Golem and defeated him a bunch of times until I got myself the Pixaw using the Prime Vice again. It was just so overpowered. During this time, I was combining accessories left and right, making myself a bunch of various different necklaces so I could increase the amount of telekinesis I can use. And after this, I fought the Destroyer to test out all the various new weapons that we got access to. There was this one very cool weapon called the Wasp Jar, and essentially it would like hold out a jar and you would have to shake it with your mouse cursor, and then it would summon in a bunch of bees. It was super cool, super neat. Like there's no way to explain it. You would have to play the mod for yourself to see what this is like, but it was very neat. Anyways, at this point in the playthrough, I was kind of curious as to why I had so little telekinesis ability. So you know when we shoot out a telekinesis power, we have the mini counter that slowly starts counting down. And when I was watching Adrian's video, he had a lot of telekinesis, and I had very little telekinesis. I was further in the game than he was. This is where I realized that I made a very big mistake. There were petals within this mod, literal flower petals that we can craft to get ourselves more permanent telekinesis. So I was playing this entire playthrough basically on a hard difficulty because I had no access to any of the petals. For reference, I think we had about 20 right now. We were supposed to have nearly 50. So yeah, anyways, I went through all the progressions. I had to take out all the various different things that gave me all the petals. I had to take out the Martian Madness invasion because I needed some Martian blocks. But by the end of this, we got to 51, I think it was, telekinesis. And I also got myself the anti-gravity hook, which was pretty cool. Around this time, I fought the lunatic cultist, and which prompted all of the pillars to spawn. I didn't really want that, so I rushed back to spawn, and I summoned in the solar eclipse because we actually needed ourselves a bunch of broken hero swords so we can craft the Nature's Dew and the Lifesteal, which is like the Terra Blade version of both of those weapons. So we crafted both of them, and then I realized that they weren't very powerful. So I started taking out all the various different pillars. As soon as we took out the solar pillar, we gained the ability to craft 2 very special weapons. One being the binary rays, which essentially shot out this spinning projectile laser beam of death that was absolutely overpowered. It dealt like 500 damage, and I don't know why it's so OP in the game. And after that, we also got ourselves the gravity crusher, which was basically just a bouncer ball. Anyways, using the binary rays, we took out the pirate invasion. We went through all the various different stages of the game, took out all of the events, took out all the bosses, at least to my ability. We got all the greatest accessories because we were already pre-Moonlord. I fought 10 destroyers and had their heads only summon in. I fought like 10 Skeletron Primes to get myself a bunch more money, and then I went to go finish off the rest of the pillars. We took out all of the pillars, with the vortex one being very last, and this is when the Moonlord spawned in. I used the binary rays for the most part to try and take care of all of his eyeballs, and we took them out very quickly because the binary rays, you barely had to aim. It would just literally shoot a laser around your entire screen and would defeat anything that got in its way. And then after this, I finished the Moonlord Moonlord's core off with the Gravity Crasher, which dealt tons of damage and made the boss fight super easy. But after this, I decided to craft all of the post-Moonlord items that we were granted access to, and this was very, very fun to play around with. The first thing I crafted was the Black Void engine, which I'm pretty sure sucked in like NPCs and items, so that was very, very neat. But I wasn't done here yet. I wanted to craft myself a full set of post-Moonlord armor, so I defeated the Moonlord one more time. I crafted myself the final post-Moonlord disc, which was the accretion disc. I hope that's how you pronounce it. But yeah, after defeating Moonlord a couple more times, we got ourselves full post-Moonlord armor, which was called Gravity Armor. And then I went to go fight the Frost Moon and the Pumpkin Moon just to make sure there was no extra content from there. I fought the Empress of Light, which was stupidly easy as well. The Empress of Light is actually a very easy boss if you're just good at the game. But yeah, the last thing I crafted was the Godly Saw Blade, which was also post-Moonlord, and the Mini Cactuar. And that was nearly like every weapon within the mod. I mean, there's a lot of pre-hard mode stuff I missed, but the post-Wall of Flesh, that was a lot of the important items within the game. Anyways, consider checking out another video like this on screen. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. This has been Boyo. Peace out.